Dear viewers and friends, just welcoming you to another international poetry reading session. And tonight, you know that today, in fact, it's a very remarkable day, the day of the refugees. And it's today, in fact, the World Refugee Day. So to for this occasion, we have invited many poets from different parts of the world, and they will read their poems in this program. And we have, you are seeing that already now we have seven poets we have now at the moment, and later more poets will join with us. So before this starting this program, I'm just mentioning their names, the poets. Those are presented today. Shubodh Sarkar from India, Abdul Al Salam Atari from Palestine, and Nina Kosman from Russia, Bilal Al Masri, Lebanon, Vladanka Sekovic and from Serbia. She will join very soon. I hope that I can just invite her soon. She is now on the backstage. And Caroline Laurent Turnuk, she is living now in France, but originally she is from Turkey. And Shommo Salek from Bangladesh, he will join with us very soon. And Munira Misbah, she will join from USA. I'm waiting for her. And also Rosa Zamali from Iran. I hope that I can just invite them or add to this program very soon. But at the moment, we cannot just add all of the poets because of the problem of adding in a stream yard. It is not, we cannot add more than 10 poets. So I have to wait to invite them. But now I want to start this program formally. Sikandar Ali will just first speak about the refugee problem or about this day. He will speak first. So over to Sikandar Ali.
Well, this is Sikandar Ali. I'm the associate editor of The Archer, and I'm teaching at a university. This is Shahjalal Science and Technology University in Bangladesh. So welcome all of you. The Honorable Editor-in-Chief of The Archer, Mr. Masudud Jaman, and Executive Editor, Anna Maria Stipien, the distinguished guests joining from across the world, a very good day to all. The theme of the World Refugee Day 2021 is Together We Heal, Learn and Shine. So war, violence and persecution have forced more than 80 million people around the world to flee their homes, to save themselves and their families. In recent times, we have seen refugee crisis in many parts of the world like Syria, Palestine and some African countries. But the current refugee crisis in Bangladesh is the severest of all. Since August 2007, over 1 million Rohingya refugees have fled the ongoing violence in Myanmar, making Cox's Bazar, a coastal town in Bangladesh, the largest refugee camp of the world. The COVID situation has deteriorated the refugee crisis, exposing the refugees disproportionately to the virus. In a context like this, this event marking the World Refugee Day bears ample significance. Those who have always promptly responded to the humanitarian crisis like this are the righteous. They do suffer equally with the affected people. Mahmoud Darwish, in his time, expressed his anguish about the dispossession and the displacement of the Palestinians. Allen Ginsberg wrote an ode titled Gesser Road on the miseries of the Bangladeshi refugees who took shelter in India in 1971. A Rohingya crisis in Myanmar has provoked the poets in many places to speak up against the brutalities of the military junta. So, as a platform of the writers, we express our commitment that protests can be suppressed, rebellion can be crushed, but a righteous pen cannot be stopped or voice silenced. We hope good sense will prevail upon the world leaders to make efforts to prevent and resolve conflicts and crises and make peace among the nations. On this World Refugee Day and every day, we stand together with the refugees. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Sikandar. Now, just I want to go to poet
Thank you.
Shubodh Sarkar from India. Shubodh has some experience on this problem, and for the experience of his life, in fact, he can share with us, and also with poetry. Shubodh, please.
Good evening to all of you. It's not evening everywhere, I understand, but it is evening in India, in Calcutta. Thank you, Masud Jaman. Thank you, Sikandar Ali. Especially, I thank the Archer, the magazine, and the AWW for organizing this brilliant program, I should say. That it's only it can happen to the Archer or the editors of Archer that they thought about this program. While I find most of the people, most of the poets here in India and also elsewhere are almost silent. They are celebrating Father's Day, but they cannot have a father without the border crossing. Border crossing is a part of human civilization. But when border crossing is terrible, when people are forced to flee his own land and come over to another land, maybe to an adjacent land, as it happened in Syria or has been happening in India and Bangladesh, this is something very terrible. It's a terrible part of human history. It's a terrible part of human civilization. But border crossing, without border crossing, we cannot have civilization. And you think about Albert Einstein when he came to the USA as a refugee. So he didn't come to the USA with a bundle of household things, but he came with a brain. He came with a mind, a brain, technology, science, literature. These are the things that, they also cross borders with human beings. My father and my mother, with my brothers and sisters, we were a big family. I was born in India, but my parents, they were forced to cross the border illegally. And they came over to India to settle down in India. So I have been in this family. I have been from the very beginning of my life. I have been through it because of my mother, because of my father, because of my brother and sisters. So they came and became refugees. I was lucky or not that lucky, I should say. I was born in India, in free India, but that's a different story. But the family that I was born into, That family was a refugee family. And that was a terrible time. And you know, as already Mr. Ali has given you the idea of human civilization, how human civilization, in modern times, how there have been refugees almost everywhere in the world, be it Palestine or Syria or in African countries, India, Bangladesh. And in fact, this is the largest, in this part of the world, we have the largest migration, we have the largest exodus, we have the longest, uh, you know, migration, or you can say infiltration, or you can say border crossing. So we have been a part of it, whether one is a refugee or not. But in this part of the world, we have terrible experiences. I'm not going into details of the history. Others will speak about it, but I have chosen only three short poems, each poem's 5, 6 lines, you know. I have a series of poems on my refugee experience, or rather on my experience of living in a refugee family. And these poems I wrote in Bengali, because Bengali is a language, is my mother tongue, and I have been writing in this language for the last 40 years. And I have published 35 books in 40 years. And my refugee experience is a part of my work. So the first poem is called, it's all in English translation. These three poems I'm reading are in English translations I have done myself. The first poem is called Promise.
সুবোধ,
Promise for
আমি
Christ.
একটা জিনিস বলি সুবোধ, এক মিনিট জাস্ট, you will read also the Bengali version, okay?
It will take a long time. Okay,
Short
I
poem
will
to
just,
show our viewers.
before I begin, I can cite 2-3 lines. Okay. Promise. My father had 2 homes, one invisible on his back, another which appeared before him but never existed. My father himself is now a no man's land between 2 homes, one on his back, the other is a promise. The original Bengali. আমার বাবার 2টো বাড়ি ছিল। একটা বাড়ি দেখা যেত না, সেটা ছিল বাবার পিঠে। আর একটা বাড়ি ছিল বাবার সামনে, কিন্তু বাড়িটা কখনো তৈরি হয়নি। আমার বাবা আজ নিজেই যেন নো ম্যানস ল্যান্ড, 2টো বাড়ির মাঝখানে। একটা বাড়ি বাবার পিঠে, আর একটা বাড়ি স্বপ্ন। The next poem is called Mourning for a Refugee. It's again a very short one. শরণার্থীর জন্য একটি সকাল। a morning for a refugee. My morning is not my morning. I have borrowed it from you. The sunlight is a touch on my toe. My toe is bleeding for years. My night is not my night. I never hide my secrets in a night. I'm a man without secrets. Each morning is a borrowed morning. Each night is someone else's night. When shall I have my own morning? The last one, the last poem. The last poem is called It's About My Mother. I read the first one was my father. The second one is about my own morning. And the third is my mother. But the poem is called God Was a Refugee. You know, before I read this poem, I should explain just one reference that there is in the first line of the poem. There is a reference to a baby God. It's a the child when the Lord Krishna was a child. Balok Krishna was like a boy, a small little boy. So he is referred to here as baby God. My mother had a baby God. My mother smiled, the God smiled. My mother ate, the God ate. My mother slaved, the God slaved. As my mother crossed the border, the God crossed the border too. My mother became a refugee. So was the God. My mother smiled, so did the God. My mother cried, so did the God. My mother slaved, so did the God. Thank you.
Thank you, Shubhat. Thank you very much. I would rather say that she got the experience from his family and from his life. You have already heard. I just want to add something about Shubhat. Shubhat is an eminent poet from India, and he lives in Calcutta. And he is the president or chairman, so far I think, president of Kobita Poetry Academy of West Bengal, and it's maybe the first kind of academy so far in the world. So, and he has enormously published many poems as well as poetry books. So thank you, Shubodh, for your
Thank you.
poems
Thank you very
which
much.
we have heard.
Everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So now I'd like to go to Nina Kosman. And Nina, are you ready to read your poems?
Yes, I will read. Can you hear me?
Yes, and Nina
Yeah,
from,
yeah.
in fact, I want to say something about Nina. Nina is a very, very eminent, rather I say that very famous poet from Russia, but now at the moment she is living in USA. She is also an artist and translator. Just a
Oh,
few
that's
days
great.
before, I saw that she translated Stoikova, right? The poet.
No, Tsvetaeva. Tsvetaeva.
Sataeva, yes. She has just translated her poem into English and now living in New York. So, Nina, please,
Okay,
over to you.
Masoud, thank you. But I've been living in America for most of my life. My parents left Russia when it was still the Soviet Union, a communist country, in 1972 during Brezhnev, when it was very hard, almost impossible to leave the Soviet Union because no one was allowed to leave. Also, I want to say that the poems I will read are two
So,
poems
Nina,
about.
did you born? Where are you born? In
I
fact,
was born in Moscow, but my father was a refugee twice. He was a refugee. My father was born before the revolution, Russian Revolution, Bolshevik Revolution. He was quite old to be my father, actually, but he was born in 1915. So he was 2 years old during the revolution. So his parents fled the revolution. They fled from Russia, which was in the midst of the revolution. They fled in 1918 to Latvia, which at that time became a separate country. Then after World War II, Latvia and the other Baltic states, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, became part of the Soviet Union. But at that time, Latvia was independent, so they emigrated to Latvia. But when World War II started, the Nazis invaded the Soviet territory on June 22nd. Actually, in 2 days, June 22nd will be the anniversary of the Nazi invasion of the Soviet Union, and Latvia was a Soviet republic by that time. So when the Nazis entered, I don't know how much you know about the Holocaust. I'm Jewish. My parents were Jewish. My grandparents were killed in Latvia. 25,000 people who were all Jewish residents of Latvia were taken to a forest. First, they were put into a separate ghetto. From there, they were taken to a forest and killed in 2 days. Most people know about the Holocaust mostly as gas cameras, Auschwitz, but on Soviet territory, it was what they call Holocaust by bullets. They were just shooting people into a mass grave. So my grandmother was killed like that. She was shot into a mass grave, and my father's little nephew and everyone. And on my mother's side of the family, so about 20 people were killed like this on my father's side of the family, and on my mother's side, over 20 people. So 40 people in my extended family were killed by the Nazis, and 5 were killed by Stalinism. Stalin, you probably know. So those who were not killed by the
uh,
Nazis were killed by Stalin. So,
really, it's a
um,
tragedy, big tragedy.
It's
so my
it's
parents left.
terrible story.
My
Terrible
parents
story.
Terrible.
left.
It's in fact terrible story. Not a
Yes,
story. In fact, it's fact that 40
yes.
people
It's
died
not a
from
story
her
exactly.
families.
It's a fact. So my parents left the Soviet Union in 1972 when it was very hard to leave. People had to ask government for permission, and sometimes the Soviet government gave permission. Sometimes it didn't. It was like a Russian roulette. It was people taking big risk. So we were lucky and we got permission. So I've been living in the United States since 1973. So not just yesterday. Anyway, I will read 2 points about the Holocaust. And this is the Holocaust not in gas chambers, but by bullets, as it was in the Soviet territory, as I just described. So
Please,
first,
can I ask you, please, but can I ask you something first? Firstly, I'm so sorry for what I hear from you. You didn't go to Israel, right? I'm Palestinian. But you
Yeah,
didn't.
you know what?
Didn't.
I will answer your questions later. I don't want to get into Palestine-Israeli conflict right now. This is a poetry reading, right? I'm just
No,
talking about
it's just. Yeah, but it's
This is
Rashid,
a
really
Rashid,
none of
poetry
your
reading.
business where
Rashid,
I
just let
went.
him, let her read her poems, okay?
And
Yeah,
I don't want to
please
discuss
read your
Palestine right now.
read.
Okay?
Please read your poems. Read
Right.
your poems.
Okay,
Please.
so the first poem, both of these poems
رشيد
were
رشيد كثير مهم جدا افهم شو موقفها من اسرائيل قبل ما اكمل اللقاء.
written in Russian at first, so I will read the English translation at first, and then I will read Russian, the original.
Okay.
Where's your good-for-nothing sister, said his mother. Today we're going to die together as a family. Don't you hear? The crowds are knocking at the door again. Crowds, that was the word for Germans, German word for Germans, which was used during World War II in the occupied territory. Okay, don't you hear? The crowds are knocking at the door again. Collect yourself quickly, and why take so many books? Where you're going, you'll manage without them. You're always the last one, son, said his mother. Time to get ready, and now you want to sleep? You'll have a good sleep when we're going to lie down together. Rather than slip books in your bag, find your sister. Well, what a fool you are indeed. What station? There's your sister, found at last. The whole family lies here together. And the one who led their column to slaughter lived to collect his pension, to have grandchildren, and even great-grandchildren, all of whom are so sensitive they'd be hurt by talk about some sort of forest. So what? Aren't there all kinds of forests in the world? So what? No one is going to rise from there. So don't talk about how he aimed for the mother and about how her youngest boy wanted to sleep and how his body fell on the mother's and how the books and some chalk dropped from his hand onto the bodies. Keep silent. Why tell the grandson about that forest of yours? And now I will read this in the original Russian. «Где сестра твоя непутевая?» — говорила мать. «Сегодня мы всей семьей идем умирать. В дверь, слышь, фрицы опять стучат. Собирайся быстрей, зачем тебе столько книг? Там, где мы будем, обойдешься без них. Всегда ты последний, сынок», — говорила мать. «Ну вот, собрались, а теперь ему хочется спать. Выспишься там, где будем вместе лежать. Чем книги в мешок совать, сестру бы отыскал. Ну что за дурак в самом деле, какой вокзал? Вот и сестра нашлась, лежат всей семьей. А тот, что колонну их вел на убой, до пенсии дожил, до внуков и даже до пра. У внуков натуры тонкие, не надо их травмировать болтовней про какой-то лес. Что с того? Да мало ли на свете мест. Что с того, что поляна? Ведь никто не воскрес. А про то, как дед его метился в мать, да про то, как младшему хотелось спать, а когда упал на мать и из рук выпал мешок, посыпались на тела книги, да какой-то мелок. Молчите, зачем вы внука-то про ваш лесок? Now I'll read the second poem, which was also originally written in Russian, and then I translated it into English. Actually, not I translated, it was Mary Jane White who translated this poem, the second poem, into English. Okay, and it's also about the Holocaust. It was about how people were led, thousands of people were led to forests where they were killed, basically. And it happened in every Soviet republic that was occupied by the Nazis during World War II. It happened in Latvia, Lithuania, Ukraine, Moldavia, Belarus, everywhere, as soon as the Nazis entered, basically. Like lambs, they were led to slaughter without being told anything. But a god peered out of the ditch into which the corpses rolled as he peered through the cracks of barracks and crematoria, which were built by people on the orders of other people. Poor God, he was not consulted when they were killing millions. And now they say there is no God, since he allowed so many to be killed. And that God was one of those lambs who they led to slaughter. He was one of those black-eyed boys, a mother with an infant at her breast, an old woman limping up to the ditch's edge. Nobody knew about this, neither those who gave the order to shoot mother and child as one to economize on bullets, nor those who saw and forgot, so nothing could trouble their sleep. And afterwards, the earth breathed as if the corpses were moving. And one got up, not quite dead, and began to walk the forest path, which no one else had walked, slept in bushes. Moss was as soft as a bed, ate berries for dinner. His eyes, grown large with hunger, gazed on hares and squirrels, while wolves and other beasts let him be. They knew better than to eat a god. And so he survived 2 years. And someone is not muted, I think. I hear some sound somewhere. I don't know. Someone, I think it's important to mute.
Yes, I'm muting, please.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, and when he came out of the forest, villagers surrounded him, pointing at him, pointing. Look, a walking corpse. That god was Menge, like Mowgli, saying, go away from here. Nothing's left for you here anymore. So he went away and lived to his old age in rooms close by the sea, in a town called Bat Yam, better than Yama, the god joked. And when he died, nothing of him remained except an old notebook, and in it 2 words, I survived. That page was torn out, placed in a museum, and that's all I know about that god. In Russian, the word Yama, there is a Russian word which I used. Yama means a ravine, meaning a ravine, like a hole in the ground, a ravine, which was a mass grave that people had to dig themselves before they were shot into it. So that's it, I finished. Oh, in Russian, yes. Unless I know it's hard to listen to a poem in a language one doesn't understand, but I'll read it. Как ягнят их вели на жертву, но не говорили какую, а Бог глядел из канавы, в которой валялись трупы, а еще он глядел из щелей, бараков и крематориев, которые построили люди по приказу других людей. Бедный Бог, тебя не спросили, можно ли умерщвлять миллионы? А теперь говорят, нет Бога, раз позволил им так умереть. А что Бог был одним из ягнят, которых вели на жертву, черноглазым мальчишкой был, мамой с грудным ребенком, старухой, доковылявшей до рва, никто об этом не знал, ни те, кто отдавал приказ, мол, в мать и ребенка разом, чтобы сэкономить пули, не те, кто глядел и забыл, чтобы ничто не мешало спать. А после земля дышала, будто двигались трупы, и встал один, не совсем убитый, и пошел по лесной тропинке, по которой никто не ходил, спал в кустах, мох, как постель, был мягкий, ягоды ел на обед, глазами большими от голода смотрел на зайцев и белок, а волки и прочие хищники его не трогали, ведь Бога они не едят. И так...
بلغوا كله هذا الموقف مش وما بصير يعمل هيك.
I'm almost done with the Russian. И так он прожил 2 года, а как только вышел из леса, окружили его селяне, и пальцем на него, пальцем. Вот же ходячий труп. I'll skip some, because it's too long in Russian. Не осталось от него ничего, кроме старой тетради, и в ней 2 слова. Я выжил. Вырвали из нее лист, положили в музей. Вот и все, что я знаю о Боге. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much, Nina. And we have heard 2 poems from you, an original Russian and also the translation into English. Would you like to share anything with us about your experience or anything else you told before also? But
I already mentioned some things in the beginning, so it's okay. I don't want to take it.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. So, Nina, and you asked me to leave early. So would you like to leave now?
Yeah, I will probably leave. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, welcome.
Thanks, bye.
So now I'm just going to our next poet, and she will be from France. In fact, she is now living in France, but originally from Turkey, and she is also living in another country, not in her own country. So, Carolina,
Oui,
would you
bonjour.
please?
Oui, bonjour. Je commence à lire mon poème ou vous lirez en anglais, je ne sais pas. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay.
So
I
now
will
she is
tell
going
you
to
my...
read her poems, and you have also the translation, right, into English?
Okay. Bir mültecinin günlüğü.
Okay, just I want to tell you that Caroline Laurent Turunk from Turkey, and now living in France. That means originally she is not in fact living in her own country. And at the same time, she has also the experience of this refugee issue or problem. Now, just I'm going to her. Please, Carolina, read your poems.
Okay, merci. Bir mültecinin günlüğü. Nefes nefese bir sabahtı. Elleri üşümüş gibi ceplerinde bir genç adam. Bilmediği bir dilin sokaklarında kuru bir yer arıyordu. Avucundaki el çizgileri silinmiş, parmakları mora boyanmıştı. Üzerinde güneşin gölgesi olan taşlar ondan daha şanslıydı. Sanki gökyüzü bulanıktı. Tüm geçmişinden ip tarafından tutuluyordu. Alışkanlıklarından eser yoktu. Rıhtımda kaybolmuş gemiler gibi garip yüzlere bakıyordu. Sanki azgın kirli denizden geleceği umutla arıyor gibiydi. Kayıp geçmişini arayan bir mülteciydi. Bir kasırganın şiddetiyle zamansız takvimlerden silinen fotoğraflardan geliyordu sanki. Daldan koparılan isimsiz yapraklar. Gün içinde kaybolan bilinçsiz uçan göçmen kuşları. Gölgenin yansımasına tutsak bir çınar ağacı gibi. Aynanın içinde hapsolmuş cüceler. Kana kusamış şeytanlar arasında sonsuz güneşin sarardığı yere neden geldiğini kim bilebilirdi? Tıpkı babamın yüzü gibi topraklanmıştı. Bir titreme aldı beni. Ölüm geldi aklıma. Günahları neydi? Doğdukları topraklarından sürünecek kadar günahları neydi bu insanların? Sokaklar eğri miydi? Yoksa lambalar mı ışıksızdı? Kavurucu yaz güneşin, kalbim kış gibi soğudu. Rüzgar beni esiyordu. Yüzüne baktım, gülüşü gözleri karanlık bir kuyu gibiydi. Elimi kaldırıyorum. Hey, hey, nasıl hissettiğini biliyorum. Bak buradayım. Ben de bu yollardan geçtim. Benim de ruhumdan bir mülteciydim ben. O kalabalık sofralardan yemek yerken bir anda aklıma geldi tabağımızdaki. Yemediğimiz günlere gittim. Zaman nasıl geçtiği bir sesle irkildim. Polis kimliğimi göstermemi istedi benden. Elimi çantama koydum, kimliğimi aldım ve onlara gösterdim. Bu kimliğe sahip olmak için yaşadıklarımı anlatsam, hatırladığım zaman gözlerim doluyordu. Tüm sevdiklerimi ardıma bırakmak zorunda bırakılmıştım. O kadar ağırdı ki annem beni yoksa kardeşimi mi daha çok seviyorsun diye sormasını özledim. Annemin beni dövüp ağlamaya dayanmadığı o günleri özlüyorum. O günler geri görüyor ve annem yine beni dövüyor. Ağlıyorum. Şimdi benim ağlamayacak kimsem yok. Tekrar etrafa baktım. Gözlerim o genci aradı. Yağmur da hiç bu kadar farklı yağmamıştı sanki. Daha önce hiç bilmediğim bir rüzgar kokuyordu sanki. Bir dönüm noktasında. Yoksa bir rüya mıydı beynimin ortasında yoksulluğun neden olduğu istikrarsızlık, mevsimlerin oyunu muydu? Kalabalık bir ailenin büyük evinden 12 metrekarelik bir odada yaşamak. Odanın tavanı yok, duvarlar solgun, hafif bir esinti, esse kapı uçardı. Evet ben bir mülteciydim. Her birimiz bir ayrı ülkeden geliyoruz. Yoksulluk nedir? Birbirine yabancı. Bir günlüğüne tanrı olsaydım, ölümsüzlük tohumunu ekerdim. Küflü vazolardan saksılara, her evin bahçesine. Toprak o çılgın ölüm kokusunu özlemesin. Ey aldığım her nefeste, bedenimi titreten yüce ruh. Vadeler erken olmamalı. O çiçekler, sandıkların üstünde süslememeli. Ağlayan çocuklar, mülteci bekleyen sokaklar olmamalı. Ben de bir refüjeydim. Ben de bir refüjeydim. Okay. Merci beaucoup. C'était comme ça mon poème.
Yes. Did you finish it?
Oui, ça y est, c'est finish.
But your
Finish.
English translation, would you like to read?
OK, vous pouvez faire... OK, je vous écoute.
Please read the English translation.
OK, merci.
Yes, please. No more? Will you not read the English translation?
Ah non, moi, non. C'est pas anglais. J'ai lu en Turquie, mais c'est vous qui vous translate en anglais.
Okay,
c'est pas
okay.
moi.
Thank you very
C'est
much.
vous,
So
c'est
now
vous.
I want to go to Vladanka. Are you there? I
Pardon?
cannot see you.
Ah bah, désolé, j'ai rien compris du tout.
Okay.
C'est vous qui normalement vous lire en anglais, c'est pas moi, non? Vous savez pas parler arabe même? Je peux parler arabe avec vous si vous voulez.
Okay. So now I want to go to Vladanka, and she's from Serbia. Would you please read your poems and follow with the English translation, Vladanka? Okay, wait a minute. I need to unmute you. Sorry. Maybe I muted yourself.
Bah, désolé.
Yes, now you just talk and read your poems.
Yes, I'm in Belgrade, and my town is located in the two rivers, Danube and Sava. The Belgrade is one biggest town in the Balkan after the Athens. I very like my country. It's very beautiful.
Yes.
We have most famous people as Nikola Tesla, as the Nobel Prize, Ivo Andrić, and so on. I am a writer. I write the poem, write the short stories, the roman, and I have 21 books. Now I read my poem. Pitao si me, odakle ti ideje? Ideja je najdublja misterija i bez ideje si prosjak. Zora i noć su dve žene. Zora je između sna i jave, neprodubljena. Noć je pohotna lepotica, raskošna. Dan i sumrak su dva muškarca. Dan poznavalac bola i sreće. Sumrak već izmoren i pogrbljen. I eto, ponekad ima više istine u delikatnoj besmislici nego u temeljnim zaključcima. Ali reči su vetar, ne obaziri se na njih. But I haven't the translation.
Don't have the translation.
I send you.
Okay, you read it. Can't you read?
The translation?
Yes.
I haven't now.
Oh my God.
I haven't now.
That is supposed to read by you, but you didn't keep with it.
That's the moment.
Okay, no problem. Now just later you can read the English translation because of us for other viewers. Okay, now I'm just going to Beatriz. Beatriz, are you there and can you hear me?
Yes, I heard you. Oh, it's okay.
Okay,
Pues,
Beatriz Savindra from Mexico, and she is a famous poet from Mexico, and involved with many organizations, particularly with the Writers Union. So, Beatriz, now just read your poems.
okay. Thank you very much for the invitation to Arker and Masood. And when I'm going to read first in Spanish and then the translate. Bueno.
Yes.
Palabra inerte. Afuera está la espera interminable, la indiferencia y el polvo, el instante de haber muerto, la música delgada y la calle endurecida. Apenas mueve el horizonte esta oscuridad para volver al relámpago mudo de la angustia donde habitamos. Enemiga de la luz y del sonido, aprisiono tu mensaje en mi garganta. Inner world. Outside is the underweight, indifference and dust. The moment of habit, death, this music and the hardness street. Barrel moves to horizon, this darkness to return to the light things, doomed from angst where we live. Enemy of life and the sound, I imprison your message in my throat. And my second poem, Arquetipos. 1. Luego está vivir con uno mismo, en mano propia abandonar los sueños, vencer la tranquilidad de la mirada, la turba irónica del espacio cotidiano, borrar de la memoria otros nombres, para alimentar la inmovilidad del agua, del tumulto sentencioso que confunde el vacío de la mirada. También duermo algunas veces a la otra orilla en el árbol vencido. 2. Desnudar la voz para hundir el impulso en cualquier cuerpo, en el desaliento tranquilo y la lujuria, en el propio desnudo que confunde, perderse en la ola rítmica, en el temblor de las manos donde asciende el aire al universo para olvidar el mundo en el sueño ilimitado. Después, verter tu voz que se levanta, la posibilidad de otra vida renaciendo. Archetypes. First. Then there is living with yourself. In my own hand, abandoned dreams. Overcome the tranquility of the gaze, the ironic mob of everyday space. Delete other names from memory and feel the immobility of the water, of the sententious tumult, then confuse the emptiness of the gaze. I also sleep sometimes to the other shore and the defend tree. 2. Undress the voice to sing moment into anybody, in quiet despondence and lost in the unknown that confuse. Get lost in the rhythmic wave, in the shaking of the hand, where the air ascended to the universe, to forget the world is limit sleep. Afterward, put out your voice that rises, the possibility of another life reborn. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Then our next poet, and he is from Bangladesh. And Shommo, are you ready now to read your poems?
Yes, I'm ready to read, sir. Do you listen
Okay,
me?
please read your Bengali poem and then follow with the English translation.
For giving me
please
a
read.
chance to... Yes, sir, I will read. For giving me a chance to read here with distinguished poets from different countries of the world. Thanks a lot, our master speaker, Masood Jamal sir, and greetings to all poets presented tonight. We know today is World Refugee Day. refugee crisis is not trouble for Palestine, Bangladesh, Myanmar, or Syrian people. It is a big crisis for all over the world. We should write and think about this crisis and dream about the world where there is no refugee crisis, there is no racism, no unwanted interventions. Thank you. I will read a poem named Rohingya 2017. I will read firstly in my own language, Bangla, and then will recite in English. রোহিঙ্গা 2017। আমাকে হত্যা করে ছুঁড়ে ফেলা হয়েছে নাফ নদীতে। আমাকে হত্যা করে ছুঁড়ে ফেলা হয়েছে নাফ নদীতে। অতিক্রান্ত রক্তস্রোতে ভেসে যাচ্ছে আমার স্বজন। আমাকে খুন করে নিক্ষেপ করা হয়েছে বদ্ধভূমিতে। ব্যাপ্ত চরাচর ব্যাপী তুমি যে রোদনের স্বরে স্তব্ধ হয়ে গেছো, দস্যুপালের বধ যজ্ঞে সেটা ছিল আমাদের সম্মিলিত আর্তনাদ। ওরা বলতে চায় এখানে আমাদের ভূমি নেই, আমরা আগন্তুক এবং অন্যায্যভাবে বসতি গড়েছি, তাই উৎখাত ও গণহত্যা ছাড়া কিছুই প্রাপ্য নেই। ওরা কি ভুলে গেছে রসাঙ্গ রাজ সবাই আমাদের সভাসদ ছিল এবং এই অদ্রি অঞ্চল ভালোবেসে পুরুষানুক্রমে আমরা রক্ত দিয়েছি, সয়ে গেছি শত শত অপঘাত। আর কতকাল চেপে যাবে সেই ইতিহাস? ওদের বলে দাও, যদি একটি জনগোষ্ঠীকে নিশ্চিহ্ন করে দিতে ওরা প্রতিজ্ঞ হয়, তবে যেন আগাম রক্তবর্ষণের শঙ্কায় নিজেদের ভীত রাখে এবং কোনো হত্যাকাণ্ডই খুনের ধারাবাহিকতাকে ব্যাহত করতে পারে না। বিচ্ছিন্নভাবে আমাদের অনেকেই মরে যাচ্ছে, কিন্তু আমরা সবাই একদিন ঠিকই বেঁচে উঠব এবং সেদিন ওরা আত্মরক্ষায় সক্ষম হবে না। আমাকে হত্যা করে ছুঁড়ে ফেলা হয়েছে নাফ নদীতে। অতিক্রান্ত রক্তস্রোতে ভেসে যাচ্ছে আমার স্বজন। ওরা আমাকে নিশ্চিহ্ন করে দিতে চায়, অথচ আমি বারবার ভেসে উঠি এবং আমার অক্ষয় অস্তিত্বকে জাগিয়ে রাখতে চাই। I will read now. I read now in English. Rohingya 2017. They killed me and threw my body into the Naf River. Bodies of my kith and kin are floating in the crossed stream of blood. They killed me and threw my body to the slaughter field. That sound of cry has made you dumb in the unending horizon. That was our collective scream in the spree of slaughtering by the brutes. They want to say, here we have no land, we are a stranger, and we have settled here unlawfully. Hence we deserve nothing but massacre. Have they forgotten our legislators were placed in the assembly of Roshan kingdom, and we have shed our blood in every generation loving these hill treks. We have tortured thousands of souls. For how long will they hide these historical truths? Tell them, if they are determined to wipe out an entirely population, then they should keep themselves alarmed about the bloodbath, and no killing can break the sequence of killing afterwards. Many of us are dying isolated, but we all shall come back to life one day, and on the day they wouldn't able to defend themselves. They killed me and threw my body into the Naf River. Bodies of my kith and kin are floating in the crossed stream of blood. they want to stamp out me. Still, I keep on coming back, and I want to keep alive my undying existence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shomo. And it was really a wonderful poem on a very grave issue, like the Rohingyas. Those are now living in fact, they are living as refugees in Bangladesh now. We have also suffered this problem in 1971 when we were fighting for our liberation. And many people from Bangladesh, they had to take shelter in India. We had to take shelter in India. Okay, now just I want to go to... Yes, please.
Can I
Ladanka.
read in English?
Yes, please.
The
Read your
poem.
poem in English so that I can understand.
You ask me.
Yes.
When did you get your ideas? Ideas is deepest mystery. Without idea, you are a bigger. Do you know that dawn and night are two women? Dawn is between sleep and walking, and night is a lustful beauty, gorgeous. Day and dusk are two men. Day consistence of pain and happiness. Dusk, already tired and hunched. Sometimes there is a more think in delicate nonsense than in the fundamental consultings, but the words are the wind. Ignore them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Vladanka. And do you have any experience about this refugee problem?
The refuse problem?
Yeah, do you have this
No.
refugee problem? Those are living from one country to another. They are just leaving their homeland and taking shelter to other countries?
No, I live in my country. I born here, I live here, and I very much love my country. It's the beautiful country. But most of people don't understand our country. The famous people lives here. And the nature is wonderful. The people, now the coffee is the most if somebody comes to us, we get with him in the coffee, always drink coffee. We like people, and I don't say anything.
Okay, thank you very much. Now just I want to go to Anna Maria Stepien from Poland. So Anna, can you read your poem now?
Yes, I have just one poem in English.
In English, not in Polish
Not
language?
not in Polish.
Okay, read your poem.
As you know, I write also in English. And as much as you love your place in the world, your home, you have no choice, no good choice. Staying makes life unbearable. Staying is like playing with the deaf. Courage whispers, courage shouts, leave behind all you have here, escape. You, a refugee of the 21st century, you take your dreams, your passions, and endeavor to live a decent life in another land. As hard as it is, just remember, men can be destroyed, but not defeated. Thank you.
Okay, but not defeated. They will not be defeated. The refugees, those are now living in other countries.
And difficult conditions.
just fled away because of the atrocities or the problems they suffered. Okay, so now, Caroline, do you have an English translation? No, I think. Okay, no problem. I asked you to translate your poem. I asked you, but you didn't. Okay, no problem. If you like, you can read, or if you don't like, then we'll just conclude this session.
Oh, I can read in Polish too.
Okay, then read in Polish so that your viewers will enjoy it.
Maybe I have some viewers from Poland. I am not a refugee, and we have not this problem now. But in the 80s was the last time when we had this problem, I think, in the Solidarity movement times. And in Polish it might sound like this. Tak bardzo jak kochasz swoje miejsce na świecie, swój dom, nie masz wyboru. Nie masz dobrego wyboru. Pozostając, twoje życie jest nie do zniesienia. Gdy pozostajesz, twoje życie jest nie do zniesienia. Gdy pozostajesz, grasz ze śmiercią. Odwaga szepcze, odwaga krzyczy, zostaw poza sobą wszystko, co masz tutaj, uciekaj. Ty, uchodźco XXI wieku, zabierasz swoje sny, swoje pasje i usiłujesz życie przyzwoitym, żyć życiem przyzwoitym na innej ziemi. O, jak bardzo to trudne. Po prostu pamiętaj, człowieka można zniszczyć, ale nie pokonać. Miło. Dziękuję.
Okay, so now we need to conclude this session because we have heard from our last poet that from Maria, and she read her poems as well as. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming this session, and due to some connection problems, we are not having the poets from Israel and from Palestine and also from Lebanon. So I must thank all of you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, sir.